from Amnesty International, and I've brought a petition with me today. I'll be circulating around the crowd while I'm here. It's a letter to the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran, the supreme leader, and the petition is to call on him to invite the United Nations to conduct an investigation into the human rights abuses in Iran. So we'll circulate today with the petitions. We'll be here for a couple of hours, and hopefully we'll have the letters filled up and we'll send them off to the Supreme Leader, showing that we care about the human rights violations that are taking place and that we want the UN to be involved in trying to help resolve and investigate those violations. Thank you.
Now I would like to ask Michael Gregg, the representative from Amnesty International, to have a few words for us. Michael, please.
Good day, folks. Thank you. Thank all of you for coming. It's a big crowd, and I think it's indicative of the strong commitment of Iranians in this city to freedom and democracy in their homeland. I'm Michael Craig. I've spoken on behalf of Amnesty International at many events over the years, and I must say I've always been impressed by the dedication and determination of the Iranian community, your absolute commitment to human rights and democracy. And I've been saying it for years, and I remain able to say it, that I have optimism that ultimately your aims will prevail, democracy will be restored, and in that we refer to real democracy, not the kind of fake elections that you have just endured in June. I'd like to speak today on behalf of Amnesty and about Amnesty International's perspective on the events in Iran over the last few months. We have on our website at least 20 reports, urgent actions, and press releases just in the past 3 months, if we can call it a story, and how vigorously Amnesty has been fighting on behalf of those who are seeking justice in Iran. The best way to get a sense of what Amnesty thinks is to look at our annual report for 2009, which refers in fact to events in 2008. I'd like to read for you what I call the synopsis of the synopsis, because the report itself is lengthy, substantial, because the problems in Iran are so incredibly enormous. But the synopsis pretty well sums up many of our concerns. The authorities maintained tight restrictions on freedom of expression, association, and assembly. They cracked down on civil society activists, including women's rights and other human rights defenders, and minority rights advocates. Activists were arrested, detained, and prosecuted, often in unfair trials, banned from traveling abroad, and had their meetings disrupted. Torture and other ill treatment of detainees were common and committed with impunity. Sentences of flogging and amputation were reported. At least 346 people were known to have been executed, but the actual number was probably higher. 2 men were executed by stoning, those executed including 8 juvenile offenders. That is quite simply a catalogue of brutality. A catalogue from a regime that does not care for human rights, does not respect its commitments, its international commitments for human rights. Amnesty has followed in particular very closely, and has had many reports come out in the last little while, as I've mentioned, pertaining to the aftermath of the election and the demand from Iranians that that election result be overturned. I have in front of me a report to begin with from September 11th, just a few days ago, that tells us that 2 human rights defenders, Shiva Nazar Ahari and Ali Bikas, are prisoners of conscience and are at risk of torture or other ill treatment. Shiva Nazar Ahari is a female journalist and a member of the Committee of Human Rights Reporters. Ali Bikas, a male journalist, is a member of the Student Committee for Defense of Political Prisoners and an activist with the rights for the rights of the Iranian Azerbaijani minority. And he was arrested in mid-June in Tehran. What this tells us is that there are few things more dangerous than in Iran than to be a journalist or to be a defender of human rights. And this is really quite extraordinary. But what amazes me and heartens me is the fact that despite the repression of journalists, there are an extraordinary number, as you know so much better than me, an extraordinary number of newspapers, journals, blogs, and internet sites where the truth is told, where the truth is known. The Iranian people are not cowed by their government, they are speaking out again and again. And for that you deserve major credit, and the people in Iran in particular deserve our respect for their courage. Amnesty has also spoken up against rape and torture, because touch it? I'm not, there we go. Amnesty has said on the 10th of September that victims of rape and other torture by Iranian security forces are facing renewed risk after documents detailing abuses against them were confiscated. Irene Khan, Amnesty International's Secretary General, said that the Iranian authorities appear more intent on finding the identities of those who claim to have been tortured than in carrying out an impartial investigation so that the perpetrators can be brought to justice. Amnesty insists again and again that the perpetrators of rape and torture, those who abuse prisoners, habitually, with impunity, be brought to justice. Amnesty insists that a full, impartial investigation is all that will clear the air and prove to the world that Iran is truly committed to getting to the truth. In particular, Amnesty has specified that for the regime itself to investigate itself does not count. That the United Nations rapporteur on torture or other UN officials must be invited to Iran to do the investigation and to report without any pressure, to give us the real truth. You may be aware that the Ayatollah Khamenei declared about 6 weeks ago that the CHRI, and excuse my pronunciations, detention center would be closed. He made this determination after it was proven that a young man, Mohsen Rouhalamini, who was the son of a top aide of presidential candidate Mohsen Rezai, was reported to have died of cardiac arrest and bleeding in his lungs 2 weeks after he was detained on the 9th of July. He was held at Harizak, and he was found to have had very, very serious facial injuries as well as these internal injuries, and he died. After that, the supreme leader closed the detention center and threw its chief and 3 of the officials in jail. Now, what's important about that is that it is obviously an acknowledgement that torture has been taking place, that this man died from his torture. And certainly there have been many, many other allegations from the presidential candidates and from many organizations, including Amnesty International, that many of the protesters in June who were arrested have died.